it's me, Little Beth ASMR, and welcome back to another reading you a story video. This is the only way that I can have the mic near me while reading / holding my book. So yeah, sorry about that. But I just want to thank you guys for all your suggestions. I will definitely look into the Sherlock short stories, and I would love to read The Hobbit. However, the chapters are extremely long, so that could take a long time. However, in the meantime, I thought that I would read this book right here. It's called The Lady's Book of Etiquette, a Manual of Politeness, a complete handbook for the use of the lady in polite society, containing rules for the duties of both hostess and guest in visiting, evening parties, and balls. Full directions for correct manners, dress, deportment, and conversation by Florence Hartley. So this is a very, I don't know if it's an old book, but some of the ideas are definitely outdated. It's from the 1860s, which is very old, so it's, gosh, that's so long ago. But yeah, I found this book in the Sherlock and Company bookstore in Kilometer Zero, Paris, when I was there a couple years ago. And yeah, that's a picture of the front of the bookstore. So I found mine upstairs, or on the staircase actually. But I remember getting this book, and I've read it before, and it's very, I don't know, it's nice to think about some of the old customs and rules that people had. And thank goodness we don't have to follow those so much anymore. But yeah, I thought I would read this. We'll see how long it takes us, depending on how long each chapter is. And I know it is for ladies. There is also one for boys, or gentlemen, but I didn't buy that one. And yeah, I think it will be interesting for anybody to listen to, or maybe you'll hate it, but we'll see. So let's get started. Look, you can see the stamp from inside the bookstore. Okay, here's the introduction. In preparing a book of etiquette for ladies, we would lay down as the first rule, do unto others as you would others should do to you. Do unto others as you would others should do to you. You can never be rude if you bear the rule always in mind, for what lady likes to be treated rudely? True Christian politeness will always be the result of an unselfish regard for the feeling of others, and though you may err in the ceremonious points of etiquette, you will never be impolite. Politeness, founded upon such a rule, becomes the expression in graceful manner of social virtues. The spirit of politeness consists in a certain attention to forms and ceremonies, which are meant both to please others and ourselves, and to make others pleased with us. A still clearer definition may be given by saying that politeness is goodness of heart put into daily practice. There can be no true politeness without kindness, purity, singleness of heart, and sensibility. Many believe that politeness is but a mask worn in the world to conceal bad passions and impulses, and to make a show of possessing virtues not really existing in the heart. Thus, that politeness is merely hypocrisy and dissimulation. Do not believe this. Be certain that those who profess such a doctrine are practicing themselves the deceit they condemn so much. Such people scout politeness, because to be truly a lady, one must carry the principles into every circumstance of life, into the family circle, the most intimate friendship, and never forget to extend the gentle courtesies of life to everyone. This they find too much trouble, and so deride the idea of being polite and call it deceitfulness. True politeness is in the language of a good heart, and those possessing that heart will never, under any circumstances, be rude. They may not enter a crowded saloon gracefully, they may be entirely ignorant of the forms of good society, they may be awkward at table, ungrammatical in speech, but they will never be heard speaking so as to wound the feelings of others. They will never be seen making others uncomfortable by seeking solely for their own personal convenience. They will always endeavor to set everyone around them at ease. They will be self-sacrificing, friendly, unselfish, truly in word and deed polite. Give to such a woman the knowledge of the forms and customs of society. Teach her how to best show the gentle courtesies of life, and you have a lady, created by God, only indebted for the outward polish to the world. It is true that society demands the same unselfishness and courtesy, but when there is no heart in the work, the time is frittered away on the mere ceremonies, forms of etiquette, and customs of society, as since politeness seeks only in its own ends to be known as courteous, spoken of as ladylike, and not beloved as unselfish and womanly. Etiquette exists in some form in all countries, has existed and will exist in all ages, from the rudest savage who dares not approach his ignorant, barbarous ruler without certain forms and ceremonies, to the most polished courts in Europe, or the home circles of America. Etiquette reigns. True politeness will be found in its basis in the human heart, the same in all these varied scenes and situations, but the outward forms of etiquette will vary everywhere. Even in the same scene, time will alter every form and render the exquisite polish of last year obsolete rudeness next year. Politeness, being based upon real kindness of heart, cannot exist where there is selfishness or brutality to warp its growth. It is founded upon love of the neighbor and desire to be loved and to show love. Thus, where such pure and noble feelings do not exist, the mere forms of politeness become hypocrisy and deceit. Rudeness will repel, where courtesy should attract friends. Never by word or action notice the defects of others. Never by word or action notice the defects of another. Be charitable, for all need charity. Remember who said, "Let him that is without fault cast the first stone." Remember that the laws of politeness require the consideration of the feelings of others, the endeavor to make everyone feel at ease, and frank courtesy towards all. Never meet rudeness in others with rudeness upon your own part. Even the most brutal and impolite will be more ashamed by being met with courtesy and kindness than any attempt to annoy them by insolence on your part. Politeness forbids any display of resentment. The polished surface throws back the arrow. Remember that a favor becomes doubly valuable if granted with courtesy, and that the pain of refusal may be softened if the manner expresses polite regret. Kindness, even to the most humble, will never lose anything by being offered in a gentle, courteous manner, and the most commonplace action will admit of grace and ease in its execution. Let every action, while it is finished in strict ordinance with etiquette, be at the same time easy, as if dictated solely by the heart. To be truly polite, remember that you must be polite at all times and under all circumstances. Chapter 1. Conversation. The art of conversation consists in the exercise of two fine qualities. You must originate and you must sympathize. You must possess at the same time the habit of communicating and listening attentively. The union is rare but irresistible. None but an excessively ill-bred person will allow her attention to wander from the person with whom she is conversing, and especially she will never, while seeming to be entirely attentive to her companion, answer a remark or question made to another person in another group, unless the conversation being general among a party of friends, confine your remarks and attention entirely to the person with whom you are conversing. Steele says, "I would establish but one great general rule in this conversation, which is this, that people should not talk to please themselves, but those who hear them. This would make them consider whether what they speak be worth hearing, whether there be either wit or sense in what they are about to say, and whether it be adapted to the time when, the place where, and the person to whom it is spoken." Be careful in conversation to avoid topics which may be supposed to have any direct reference to events or circumstances which may be painful for your companion to hear discussed. You may unintentionally start a subject which annoys or troubles the friend with whom you may be conversing. In that case, do not stop abruptly when you perceive that it causes pain, and above all, do not make the matter worse by apologizing. Turn to another subject as soon as possible, and pay no attention to the agitation your unfortunate remark may have excited. Many persons will, for the sake of appearing witty or smart, wound the feelings of another deeply. Avoid this. It is not only ill-bred, but cruel. Remember that having all the talk sustained by one person is not a conversation. Do not engross all the attention yourself by refusing to allow another person an opportunity to speak, and also avoid the extreme or answering only in monosyllables. If your companion relates an incident or tells a story, be very careful not to interrupt her by questions, even if you do not clearly understand her. Wait until she has finished her relation, and then ask any questions you may desire. There is nothing more annoying than to be so interrupted. I have heard a story told to an impertinent listener which ran this way. I saw a fearful sight. When? Well, I was about to tell you, last Monday on the train. What train? The train from B. We were near the bridge. What bridge? I will tell you all about it if only you let me speak. I was coming from B. Last Monday, did you say? And so on. The story was interrupted at every sentence, and the relator... The story was interrupted every sentence, and the relator condemned as a most tedious storyteller. When he had been permitted to go forward, he would have made the incident interesting and short. Never interrupt anyone who is speaking. It is very ill-bred. If you see that a person to whom you wish to speak is being addressed by another person, never speak until she has heard and replied, until her conversation with that person is finished. No truly polite lady ever breaks in upon a conversation or interrupts another speaker. Never, in speaking to a married lady, inquire for her husband, or, if a gentleman, ask for his wife. The elegant way is to call the absent party by their name, ask Mr. Smith how Mrs. Smith is, or inquire of Mrs. Jones for Mr. Jones, but never for your husband or your wife. On the other hand, if you are married, never speak of your husband as your lord, husband, or good man. Avoid also, unless amongst relatives, calling him by his Christian name. If you wish others to respect him, show by speaking of him in respectful terms that you do so yourself. If either your own husband or your friend's is in the army or navy, or you can claim the doctor, professor, or any other prefix to his name, there is no impropriety in speaking of him as the colonel, doctor, or whatever his title may be. It is a mark of ill-breeding to use French phrases or words unless you are sure your companion is a French scholar, and even then it is best to avoid them. Above all, do not use any foreign word or phrase unless you have the language perfectly at your command. I heard a lady once use a Spanish quotation. She had mastered that one sentence alone, but a Cuban gentleman, delighted to meet an American who could converse with him in his own tongue, immediately addressed her in Spanish. Embarrassed and ashamed, she was obliged to confess that her knowledge of the language was confined to one quotation. Never anticipate the point or joke of any anecdote told in your presence. If you have heard the story before, it may be new to others, and the narrator should always be allowed to finish it in his own words. To take any sentence from the mouth of another person before he has time to utter it is the height of ill-breeding. Avoid it carefully. Never use the phrases, what do you call it, thingamajimmy, what's his name, or any substitutes for a proper name or place. If you cannot recall the names you wish to use, it is better not to tell a story or incident connected with them. No lady of high breeding will ever use these substitutes in conversation. Be careful to always speak in a distinct, clear voice. At the same time, avoid talking too loudly. There is a happy medium between mumbling and screaming. Strive to attain it. Overlook the deficiencies of others when conversing with them, as they may be results of ignorance and impossible to correct. Never pain another person by correcting before others a word or phrase mispronounced or ungrammatically constructed. If your intimacy will allow it, speak of the fault upon another occasion, kindly and privately, or let it pass. Do not be continually watching for faults, that you may display your own superior wisdom in correcting them. Let modesty and kind feeling govern your conversation as other rules of life. If, on the other hand, your companion uses words or expressions which you cannot understand, do not affect knowledge or be ashamed of your ignorance, but frankly ask for an explanation. In conversing with professional gentlemen, never question them upon matters connected with their employment. An author may communicate voluntarily information interesting to you upon the subject of his works, but any questions from you would be extremely rude. If you met a physician who is attending a friend, you may inquire for their progress. Do not expect him to give a detailed account of the disease and his manner of treating it. The same rule applies to questioning lawyers about their clients, artists on their paintings, merchants or mechanics, when with ladies, generally wish for miscellaneous subjects of conversation, and as their visits are for recreation, they will feel excessively annoyed if obliged to talk shop. Still, many men can converse on no other subject than their everyday employment. In this case, listen politely and show your interest. You will probably gain useful information in such conversation. Never question the veracity of any statement in general conversation. If you are certain a statement is false, and it is injurious to another person, who may be absent, you may quietly and courteously inform the speaker that he is mistaken, but if the falsehood is of no consequence, let it pass. If a statement appears monstrous, but you do not know that is false, listen, but do not question its veracity. It may be true, though it strikes you as improbable. Never attempt to disparage an absent friend. It is the height of meanness. If others admire her, and you do not, let them have their opinion in peace. You will probably fail if you try to lower her in their esteem, and gain for yourself the character of an ill-natured, envious person. In conversing with foreigners, if they speak slightingly of the manners of your country, do not retort rudely or resentfully. If their views are wrong, converse upon the subject, giving them frankly your views, but never retaliate by telling them that some custom of their own country is worse. A gentleman or lady of true refinement will always give your words candid consideration, and admit that an American may possibly know the customs of our country better than they do, and if your opponent is not well-bred, your rudeness will not improve his manners. Let the conversation upon national subjects be candid, and at the same time courteous, and leave him to think that the ladies in America are well-bred, however he may dislike some little national peculiarity. Avoid at all times mentioning subjects or incidents that can in any way disgust your hearers. Many persons will enter into the details of sickness which should be mentioned only when absolutely necessary, or describe the most revolting scenes before a room full of people, or even at the table. Others speak of vermin, noxious plants, or even instances of uncleanliness. All such conversation or allusion is excessively ill-bred. It is not only annoying, but absolutely sickening to some, and truly a ladylike person will avoid all such topics. I cannot too severely censure the habit of using sentences which admit of a double meaning. It is not only ill-bred, but indelicate, and no person of true refinement will ever do it. If you are so unfortunate as to converse with one who uses such phrases, never by word, look, or sign show that you understand any meaning beyond the plain, outspoken language. Avoid any discussion upon religious topics unless you are perfectly certain that your remarks cannot annoy or pain anyone present. If you are tete-a-tete with a friend and such a discussion arise, inquire your companion's church and mention your own, that you may yourself avoid unpleasant remarks, and caution him. Tete-a-tete means head-to-head. Never, when advancing an opinion, assert positively that a thing is so, but give your views as an opinion. Say, I think this is so, or these are my views, but remember that your companion may be better informed upon the subject under discussion, or where it is a mere matter of taste or feeling. Do not expect that all the world feel exactly as you do. Never repeat to a person with whom you converse any unpleasant speech you may have heard concerning her. If you can give her pleasure by the repetition of a delicate compliment, or token of approval shown by a mutual friend, tell her that the pleasant speech or incident, but do not hurt her feelings, or involve her in the quarrel by the repetition of ill-natured remarks. Amongst well-bred persons, every conversation is considered in a measure confidential. A lady or gentleman tactfully confides in you when he or she tells you an incident which may cause trouble if repeated, and you violate a confidence as much in such a repetition as if you were bound over to secrecy. Remember this. Never criticize a companion's dress, or indeed make any remark whatever upon it. If a near friend, you may, if sincere, admire any article, but with a mere antiquance, let it pass unnoticed. If, however, any accident has happened to the dress, of which she is ignorant, tell her of it, and assist her in repairing the mischief. To be able to converse really well, you must read a lot. Treasure in your memory the pearls of what you read. You must have a quick comprehension, observe passing events, and listen attentively whenever there is any opportunity of acquiring knowledge. A quick tact is necessary, too, in conversation. To converse with an entirely uneducated person upon literature, interlarding your remarks with quotations, is ill-bred. It places them in an awkward situation, and does not add to your popularity. In conversing with persons of refinement and intelligence, do not endeavor to attract their admiration by pouring forth every item of your own information upon the subject under consideration, but listen as well as talk, and modestly follow their lead. I do not mean to assent to any opinion they may advance. if you really differ in your own tastes, but do not be too ready to show your superior judgment or information. Avoid argument. It is not conversation, and frequently leads to ill feeling. If you are unfortunately drawn into an argument, keep your temper under perfect control, and if you find your adversary is getting too warm, endeavor to introduce some other topic. Avoid carefully any allusion to the age or personal defects of your companion, or anyone who may be in the room, and be very careful in your language when speaking of a stranger to another person. I have heard a lady inquire of a gentleman who that frightful girl in blue could be, and received the information that the lady in question was the gentleman's own sister. Be careful when travelling, not to wound the feelings of your friends in any other country setting, by underrating their native place, or attempting to prove the superiority of your own home over theirs. Very young girls are apt to suppose, from what they observe in older ones, that there is some particular manner to be put on in talking to gentlemen, and not knowing exactly what it is, they are embarrassed and reserved. Others observe certain airs and looks used by their elders in this intercourse, and try to imitate them as a necessary part of company behaviours, and so become affected and lose that first of charms, simplicity, natural grace. To such let me say, your companions are in error. It requires no peculiar manner, nothing to be put on, in order to converse with gentlemen, any more than with ladies, and the more pure and elevated your sentiments are, and the better cultivated your intellect is, the easier you will find to converse pleasantly with all. One good rule can always be followed by young ladies: to converse with a lady friend as if there were gentlemen present, and to converse with a gentleman as if they were in a room with other ladies. Avoid affectation. It is the best test of deceitful vulgar mind. The best cure is to try to have those virtues which you would affect, and then they will appear naturally. Chapter 2. Dress. A lady is never so well dressed as when you cannot remember what she wears. No truer remark than the above was ever made. Such an effect can only be produced when every other part of the dress harmonizes entirely with the other parts, where each color or shade suits the wearer's style completely, and where there is perfect neatness in each detail. One glaring color or conspicuous article would entirely mar the beauty of such a dress. It is unfortunately too much the custom in America to wear any article or shape and make that is fashionable, without any regard to the style of the person purchasing the goods. If it is the fashion, it must be worn, though it may greatly exaggerate a slight personal defect, or conceal or mar what would otherwise be a beauty. It requires the exercise of some judgment to decide how far an individual may follow the dictates of fashion, in order to avoid the appearance of eccentricity, and yet wear what is peculiarly becoming to her own face or figure. Another fault of our fair countrywoman is their extravagance in dress. No better advice can be given to a young person than to dress always according to her circumstances. She will be more respected with a simple wardrobe. If it is known either that she is dependent upon her own exertions for support, or saving a husband or father from unnecessary outlay, than if she wore the most costly fabrics, by doing so incurred debt or burdened her relatives with heavy, unwarrantable expense. If neatness, consistency, and good taste preside over the wardrobe of lady, expensive fabrics will not be needed, for with the simplest materials, harmony of color, accurate fitting up to the figure, and the perfect neatness, she will always appear well dressed. Neatness. This is the first of all rules to be observed with regard to dress. Perfect cleanliness and careful adjustment of each article in the dress are indispensable in a finished toilette. Let the hair always be smooth and becomingly arranged, each article exquisitely clean, neat collar and sleeves, and tidy shoes and stockings, and the simplest dress will appear well, while a torn or soiled collar, rough hair, or untidy feet will entirely ruin the effect of the most costly and elaborate dress. The many articles required in a lady's wardrobe make a neat arrangement of her drawers and closets necessary, and also require care in selecting and keeping goods in proper order. A fine collar or lace, if tumbled or soiled, will lose its beauty when contrasted with the same article in the coarsest material, perfectly pure and smooth. Each article of dress, when taken off, should be placed carefully and smoothly in its proper place. Adaptiveness. Let each dress worn by a lady be suitable to the occasion upon which she wears it. A toilet may be offensive. A toilette? A toilet may be as offensive to good taste and propriety by being too elaborate, as if being slovenly. Never wear a dress which is out of place or out of season under the impression that it will do for once, or nobody will notice it. It is in bad taste to receive your morning calls in an elaborate evening dress, as it would be to attend a ball in your morning wrapper. Harmony. To appear well dressed without harmony, both in color and materials, is impossible. When arranged, any dress, whether from home, street, or evening, be careful that each color harmonizes well with the rest, and let no one article, by its glaring costliness, make all the rest appear mean. A costly lace, worn over a thin, flimsy silk, will only make the dress appear poor, not, as some suppose, hide its defects. A rich trimming looks as badly upon a cheap dress as a mean one does upon an expensive dress. Observe this rule always in purchasing goods. One costly article will entirely ruin the harmony in a dress, which, without it, though plain and inexpensive, will be more becoming and beautiful. Do not save on the dress or cloak to buy a more elaborate bonnet, but let the cost be well equalized, and the effect will be good. A plain merino or dark silk with a cloth filled cloak will look much better than the most expensive velvet cloak over a cheap delaine dress. Fashion. Do not be too submissive to the dictates of fashion. At the same time, avoid oddity or eccentricity in your dress. There are some persons who will follow, in defiance of taste and judgment, fashion to its most extreme point. This is a sure mark of vulgarity. Every new style of dress will admit of adaptation to individual cases, thus producing a pleasing as well as fashionable effect. Not only good taste, but health is often sacrificed to the silly error of dressing in the extreme of fashion. Be careful to have your dress comfortable and becoming, and let the prevailing mode come into secondary consideration, avoiding always the other extreme of oddity or eccentricity in costume. Style and form of dress. Be always careful when making up the various parts of your wardrobe that each article fits you accurately. Not in the outside garments alone must this rule be followed. An ill-fitting pair of corset or wrinkling in any other article of the undercloths will make a dress set badly, even if it has been itself fitted with the utmost accuracy. A stocking which is too large will make the boot uncomfortably tight, and too small will compress the foot, making the shoe loose and untidy. In a dress, no outlay upon the material will compensate for a badly fitting garment. A cheap calico, made to fit the form accurately and easily, will give the wearer a more ladylike air than the richest silk, which either wrinkles or is too tightly strained over the figure. Collars or sleeves pinned over or slightly strained to the meat will entirely mar the effect of the prettiest dress. Economy. And by economy I do not mean mere cheapness. To buy a poor, flimsy fabric merely because the price is low is extravagance, not economy. Still worse, if you buy articles because they are offered cheap when you have no use for them. In purchasing goods for the wardrobe, let each material be the best of its kind. The same amount of sewing that is put into a good material must be put into the poor one, and as the latter will very soon wear or rush out, there must be another one to supply its place, purchased and made up, when by buying a good article at first, this time and labor might have been saved. A good strong material will be found cheapest in the end, though the actual expenditure of money may be larger at first. Comfort. Many ladies have to trace months of severe suffering to an improper disregard of comfort in preparing their wardrobe or an exposure after they are dressed. The most exquisite ball costume will never compensate for the injury done by tight lacing. The prettiest foot is dearly paid for by the pain of a tight boot, and the most graceful effects will not prevent suffering from exposure to cold. Light ball dress and exquisite arrangement of the hair too often make the wearer dare the inclemency of the coldest night by wearing a light shawl or hood to prevent crushing delicate lace or flowers. Make it a fixed rule to have the head, feet, and chest well protected when going to a party, even at the risk of a crushed flower or a stray curl. Many a fair head has been laid in a coffin, a victim to consumption. Consumption is like tuberculosis, I think so. From rashly venturing out of a heated ballroom, flushed and excited, with only a light protection against keen night air. The excitement of the occasion may prevent immediate discomfort in such cases, but adds to the subsequent danger. Details. Be careful always that the details of your dress are perfectly finished in every point. The small articles of a wardrobe require constant care to keep in perfect order, yet they will woefully revenge themselves if neglected. Let the collar, handkerchief, boots, gloves, and belts be always whole, neat, and adapted to the dress. A lace collar will look as badly over a chintz dress as a linen one would look with velvet, though each may be perfect of its kind. Attention to these minor points are true tests of taste in a lady's dress. A shabby or ill-fitting boot or glove will ruin the most elaborate walking dress, while one of much plainer make and coarser fabric will be becoming and unladylike. And if all the details are accurately fitted, clean, and well put on. In arranging a dress for every occasion, be careful that there is no missing string, hook, or button, and that the folds hang well, and that every part is even and properly adjusted. Home dresses. Morning dress. The most suitable dress for breakfast is a wrapper made to fit the figure loosely, and the material, excepting when the winter weather requires woolen goods, should be of chintz, gingham, brillante, or muslin. A lady who has children, or one accustomed to perform herself light household duties, will soon find the advantage of wearing materials that will wash. A large apron of domestic gingham, which can be taken off if the wearer is called to see unexpected visitors, will protect the front of the dress and save washing the wrapper too frequently. If a lady's domestic duties require her attention for several hours in the morning, whilst her list of acquaintances is large, and she has frequent morning calls, it is best to dress for callers before breakfast and wear over this dress a loose sack and skirt of domestic gingham. This, while protecting the dress perfectly, can be taken off at a moment's notice if callers are announced. Married ladies often wear a cap in the morning, and lately young girls have adopted the fashion. It is much better to let the hair be perfectly smooth, requiring no cap, which is often worn to conceal the lazy, slovenly arrangement of the hair. A few moments given to making the hair smooth and presentable without any covering will not be wasted. Slippers of embroidered cloth are prettiest with a wrapper, and in summer black morocco is most suitable for the house in the morning. Dress for morning visits. A lady should never receive her morning callers on a wrapper, unless they call at an unusually early hour, or some unexpected demand upon her time makes it impossible to change her dress after breakfast. On the other hand, an elaborate costume before dinner is an excessively bad taste. The dress should be made to fit the figure neatly, finished at the throat and wrists by an embroidered collar and cuffs, and unless there is a necessity for it, in loss of the hair or age, there should be no cap or headdress worn. A wrapper made with handsome trimming, open over a pretty white skirt, may be worn with propriety, but the simple dress worn for breakfast or in the exercise of domestic duties is not suitable for the parlor when receiving visits of ceremony in the morning. Evening dresses. The home evening dress should be varied according to the circumstances. If no visitor is expected, the dress worn in the morning is suitable for the evening, but to receive visitors, it should be of lighter material, and a light headdress may be worn. For young ladies at home, ribbon or velvet are the most suitable materials for a headdress. Flowers, unless they be natural ones in the summer, are in very bad taste, excepting in cases where a party of invited guests are expected. Dark silk in winter and thin material in the summer make the most suitable dresses for evening, and the reception of the chance guest ladies in society must usually expect. Walking dresses. Walking dresses, to be in good taste, should be of quiet colors, never conspicuous. Brown, mauves, and neutral tints, with black and white, make the prettiest dresses for the street. Above all, avoid wearing several bright colors. One may be worn with the perfect propriety to take off the somber effects of a dress of brown or black, but do not let it be too glaring, and wear but little of it. Let the boots be sufficiently strong and thick to protect the feet from damp or dust, and wear always neat, clean, nicely fitting gloves. The entire effect of the most tasteful costume will be ruined if attention is not paid to the details of dress. A soiled bonnet cap, untidied strings, or torn gloves in color will utterly spoil the prettiest costume. There is no surer mark of vulgarity than overdressing or gay dressing in the street. Let the materials be the costliest kind, if you will, but do not either wear the exaggerations of the fashion or conspicuous colors. Let good taste dictate the limits where fashion may rule, and let the colors harmonize well, and be of such tints as will not attract attention. Shopping dresses should be of such a material as will bear the crush of a crowded store without injury, and neither lace or delicate fabric should ever be worn. A dress of merino in winter, with a cloth cloak and plain velvet or silk bonnet, is the most suitable. In summer, a dress and cloak of plain mode-colored lavella cloth, or any other cool but strong fabric, with a simply trimmed straw bonnet, is the best dress for a shopping excursion. Storm dresses. A lady who is obliged to go out frequently in bad weather. Why can't I speak? A lady who is obliged to go out frequently in bad weather will find it both a convenience and economy to have a storm dress. Both dress and cloak should be made of a woolen material, varying of course with the season, which will shed water. White skirts are entirely out of place, as if the dress is held up, they will be in a few moments disgracefully dirty. A woolen skirt, made quite short, to clear the muddy streets, is the proper thing. Stout, thick-soled boots and gloves of either silk, beaver cloth, or lisle thread are the most suitable. The bonnet should be either straw or felt, simply trimmed, and above all, carry a large umbrella. Little light umbrellas are very pretty, no doubt, but to be of any real protection in a storm, the umbrella should be large enough to protect the whole dress. Marketing. Here, a dress of the most inexpensive kind is the best. There is no surer mark of vulgarity than a costly dress in the market. A chintz is the best skirt to wear, and in winter a dark chintz skirt put over a delaine dress will protect it from baskets and the unavoidable soils contracted in the market, but it looks perfectly well and can be washed if required. Traveling. Traveling dresses should always be made of some quiet color, perfectly plain, with a deep mantle or cloak of the same material. When traveling with a young babe, a dress of material that will wash is the best, but it should be dark and plain. A conspicuous traveling dress is in very bad taste, and jewelry or ornaments of any kind are entirely out of place. Let the dress be made of dark, plain material, with a simple straw or felt bonnet, trimmed with the same color as the dress, and a thick barège veil. An elastic string run through a tuck made in the middle of the veil will allow one half to fall over the face, while the other half falls back, covering the bonnet and protecting it from dust. If white collars and sleeves are worn, they should be of linen, perfectly plain. Strong boots and thick gloves are indispensable in traveling, and a heavy shawl should be carried to meet any sudden change in the weather. Corsets and petticoats of dark linen are more suitable than white ones, as there is so much unavoidable dust and mud constantly meeting a traveler. Evening dresses must be governed by the number of guests you may expect to meet, and the character of the entertainment to which you are invited. For small social companies, a dark silk in the winter, and a pretty lawn barège or white muslin in the summer are the most appropriate. A light headdress of ribbon or velvet, or a plain cap are the most suitable for this dress. For a larger party, low-necked, short-sleeved silk, light-colored, or any of the thin goods made expressly for evening wear, with kid gloves either of a color to match the dress or of white. Black lace mittens are admissible, and flowers in the hair. A ball dress should be made of either very dressy silk or light thin material made over silk. It should be trimmed with lace, flowers, or ribbon, and made dressy. The coiffure should be elaborate, and match the dress, being either of ribbon, feather, or flowers. White kid gloves trimmed to match the dress, and white or black satin slippers with silk stockings must be worn. Mourning. Dress as in, grieving. There is such a variety of opinion upon the subject of mourning that it is extremely difficult to lay down any general rules upon the subject. Some wear very close black for a long period, or a distant relative, whilst others will wear dressy mourning for a short time in a case of death in the immediate family. There is no rule either for the depth of mourning or the time when it may be laid aside, and I must confine my remarks to the different degrees of mourning. For deep mourning, the dress should be of bombazine, paramenta, cloth, delaine, barège, or merino, made over black lining. The only appropriate trimming is a deep fold, either of the same material or of crepe. The shawl or cloak must be of plain black, without bordering or trimming, unless a fold of crepe be put on the cloak. The bonnet should be of crepe, made perfectly plain, with crape facings, unless the widow's cap be worn, and a deep crape veil should be thrown over both face and bonnet, black crape collar and sleeves, and black boots and gloves. Okay, we will save Chapter 3, Traveling, for next time. Some of the wording in this book is very odd, and you can hear me struggling. It might be hard to picture some of the things that Florence is talking about, but I still think it's quite interesting. Before we finish, I'll tell you, The Lady's Book of Etiquette, first published in 1860, first published by Harper's Press Limited in 2014. So, this book is written a long time ago, but it was like rebound, recovered, and reprinted in 2014, which is when I got the book, so that's why it looks like more modern, but all the writing and the ideas are from the 1860s, which is really interesting. So, next Sunday, we will read Chapter 3 and onwards, and yeah. Let me know if you guys like this. After we finish this, I will definitely look into some of the Sherlock and the Hobbit stories, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.